Chasing Evil Live. I'm Chris Gotzik, and tonight we are taking a deeper look at the Adam Mays case with several of the guys who were directly involved in the investigation and the manhunt. Joining us today is the Union County Sheriff, Jimmy Edwards. Welcome. And his Deputy Chief, Baron Baker. Welcome, Baron.
Well,
and retired Deputy U.S. Marshal Shane Brown. Hello, Shane, who just put the pina colada down and got off his floaty in the pool. And that's what retired life it looks like.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks, you guys, for being here. We appreciate you all joining us tonight and look forward to answering your questions. So whatever questions you have, just type them in on whatever platform you're on, whether Facebook Live or YouTube, and I will see those. I will see those questions, and we will get to them. So the first thing I want to do is just recap the case for anyone who may have forgotten it, or if you hadn't heard the podcast. In April of 2012, authorities in Tennessee began investigating the disappearance of Joanne Baines and her children. As investigators worked the case, they learned that Adam Mays, a family friend, had abducted two of Joanne's daughters, and that Joanne and her eldest daughter, Adrienne, had been killed. What followed was an investigation that crossed state lines, involved local law enforcement, the U.S. Marshal Service, and the FBI. Over the course of several days, investigators worked to locate Adam Mays and find the two missing girls before they were harmed. The search eventually led authorities to Mississippi, where the girls were recovered alive, and the case came to an end. So, gentlemen, let's just dive into a question I got earlier. I've gotten a couple of them that seemed a little outrageous to some friends of mine that were outside the area of law enforcement. And the question was, is it really true that the FBI will try to arrest other members of law enforcement? How can this happen? And who, between the Marshal Service and the FBI, is the higher authority? Shane Brown. Although Sheriff Edwards, you were targeted for arrest as well. But Shane, do you want to kick this off?
Well, so technically, just for example, Sheriff Edwards could file charges on a federal agent. So within the federal government, pretty much any agency can file charges on another agent in that agency. Ironically, though, every warrant issued in the federal system has to be processed through the U.S. Marshal's office. I mean, ultimately, the Marshal Service is kind of the gatekeeper for all of that. So it happens probably more than most people realize.
All right,
I've dealt with it.
Okay. I'm just going to say, you're talking around it a little bit. Let's just get right to it. So how often does it happen that the FBI will try to go after some local law enforcement and some marshals? I mean, I've heard of it actually happening, with some regularity. I don't know if it should be happening. I don't know if it shouldn't, but
It happens regularly on the local level.
It does. Regularly on the local level.
It's not uncommon at all for the FBI to charge a local officer with federal crimes like civil rights violations, where they, during the course of an arrest, they're alleged to have violated someone's civil rights. Or I've seen them where they've charged them for shaking down drug dealers. Things of that nature.
But in this case, you and Sheriff Edwards were not shaking down drug dealers.
No.
Right? You are not violating people's civil rights. Am I right?
No.
Sheriff Edwards, right? You weren't violating people's civil rights?
No, sir. I felt in my mind that I was enforcing the law.
Okay. And was it a surprise for you to hear that the FBI was trying to get a warrant for your arrest?
I was shocked.
And was that the first time that's ever happened to you?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So,
and probably
so,
the only time.
Well,
So-
yeah, it is.
yeah. So it's not that the FBI is a higher authority of one federal agency or another. Any federal agency can do it. Is that
Well,
right, Shane?
Well, I think
Yeah.
that for me to try to charge a federal agent, I would probably have to go to a federal grand jury, and it would have to get past a federal grand jury, and a U.S. attorney have to sign off on it, and that's a pretty high bar to reach, uh, going from local to federal. Now, when it's reversed the other way, it may not be quite the burden of proof, or something. The burden may not be near as high to reach. But either way, we're going to have to run the case by a U.S. attorney in the Northern District of Mississippi to arrest me.
But in this case, was it literally that they thought you and Shane were interfering?
Yeah,
You can answer
that's
for Shane, but I think they thought I was interfering. Yes.
yeah, and it's all going to go back to that unlawful flight to avoid prosecution warrant that that they got several days after the case had gotten really into high gear in terms of all the other agencies going out looking and searching for this guy. So once they got that UFAP, it
Well,
effectively
yeah.
gave them
I want to go
that
into
warrant.
I want to go into the UFAP for 1 second, because then we'll kind of, since it leads into
Sure.
it, we'll kind of go back. So to just review it for one more moment. Start from the beginning of what a UFAP is, why you would file it, and how law enforcement agencies are actually in competition with one another, and how that UFAP kind of gives you, I guess, the ace in the hole kind of thing.
Yeah, well, so a UFAP is simply an unlawful flight to avoid prosecution warrant. Um, it effectively gives the agency that requests it and obtains it, it gives them sole authority over that case. So, like, if they're the holders of that warrant, then that case is effectively belongs to them. So if you want to go out and interview someone, or you want to go out and arrest someone on probable cause or whatever, or search something, obtain a search warrant, whatever, you have to go through the agency that has obtained that warrant in order to get permission to do that.
And the Adam Mays case started as a U.S. Marshals case.
Well,
Probably
no,
started as a Tennessee warrant.
As a
yeah,
Tennessee
it
one.
started
Okay.
as a state warrant.
State.
It started as a state warrant. In fact, the original warrant wasn't for. I don't think the original warrant was even for kidnapping. I think it was it's a much lesser crime, which I had explained to Sheriff Doolin that I need some type of arrest warrant in order for us to initiate a fugitive case. I didn't care what it was for.
Right.
Um, so yeah. So initially it wasn't even for a violent crime.
Right.
But once we adopted the case and began working it over the course of several days, once the FBI decided to get involved, they didn't come to us and say, "Hey, what do you think about us doing this so that we can interject these more resources here, there, everywhere?" It was basically they just went behind our backs, got the warrant, and came and says, "Hey, we own this case now. Anything you want to do, you got to run it through us first." You know?
So basically, the first agency to initiate a UFAP owns the case, no matter what has happened.
Yeah, no matter what has happened, which happens to the Marshal Service more times than you think about, and it happens to state agencies as well, which for us has always just really just been a big pain in the ass because at the end of the day, Adam Mays was just a little better at hide and seek than the regular guy. I mean, it was something it was a fugitive. We chase fugitives every day, but once he started getting national attention, even international attention, it became a high profile case, a case that was going to get, it got a lot of media attention. So those are the cases where other agencies like to step in and put their stamp on it. And I learned a
Yeah.
lot. I learned everything from that case because anytime after that where I came across a fugitive case that looked like it was going to spin off into the universe somewhere, I just went straight to the U.S. Attorney's office and got a UFAP warrant.
And then you owned it. Nobody could come in and claim it, no matter
And then
no
I
matter
owned
what.
it, and yeah,
Okay.
and once you do that, once I would do that, I would find that I would get very little. Um, I wouldn't get people coming to me saying, "Hey, what can I do to help you?" So it basically just got left up to us.
Okay. And here's a question: what happens if more than one agency can get a warrant within a small window? I mean, is who decides if two applications are going for UFAP at the same time? Who decides who's going to get that case?
Usually the way it works on and the local state government is when a circuit judge or a justice court judge signs an arrest warrant, it says to any lawful officer of the state of Mississippi or state of Tennessee or whatever. And so if that individual is you're pretty sure is found to be in another county or another part of the state, then what we do is we contact that agent, see where we think he's at, fax them or email them a copy of that warrant and ask for their help. And they usually pick him up for us. Now, if the person goes into hiding or is kind of fled or whatever, it's a really serious crime. What we do is we contact the U.S. Marshal's office and ask them for their help, and then what we have to meet their criteria, which is put it on, make sure that individual is entered into the National Criminal Information Center, NCIC base, as a wanted person with full extradition, and that the crime that he is charged with meets the criteria that their fugitive task force wants it to be, which is usually a crime of violence, rape, aggravated assault, kidnapping, murder, things of that nature. And so that's the way it works with us. We because the U.S. Marshal Service has a branch that is all they do is fugitives. So like the Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force is the one that is in this area that I'm in, and so we contact them, the deputy chief or one of their agents, and they get it and put it in their system, and then they start looking for them. Now we don't have we have a whole lot more, 10 times more than 10 times. That's the way we do business than us contacting the FBI to help us find somebody.
Okay.
Does
Interesting.
that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Way you explain it, Shane?
Well, and yes, sir, and what that's like to me, it's like a invaluable tool for a local sheriff or a local chief of police because we don't charge anything for the work, and a sheriff's department a lot of times doesn't have a reach beyond his county line, and the marshal service can reach
All over.
worldwide in many
Mhm.
cases if you have to. And we don't mind spending the money and the resources. We can dedicate 10 guys to go look for one person. The sheriff's office has got a lot of different things going on at one time, and they don't have the manpower, whereas we've got dedicated people and that's all they do. So as long as the sheriff doesn't mind going to Alaska to get a guy, if wherever we find him, then we're gonna find him. And if Sheriff Edwards gets a fugitive, and let's say he's in Alaska, and he calls the chief of police of Anchorage and says, "Would you please send somebody to this address and look for this guy?" Well, that guy may be willing to do that, but many times they're going to send a uniformed officer to the front door, knock on the door. The guy's going to run out the back, and that's going to be the end of that. Whereas if you turn it over to us, and I find him up there, I'm gonna send a lead to our office in Alaska. They're gonna send 10 guys out there, surround the whole house, and if the information's good enough, they'll tear the house down to the foundation to get the guy.
Right.
So.
Yep. I did an episode about that where they had one guy who was climbing around in the walls of the house, and they took it down to its foundation. So let me talk for a second about the search warrant. I got a question about because somebody had mentioned that once you initiate a search warrant on a property, if you leave that property, the search warrant's not valid anymore. So they wanted a little bit of further explanation on that and clarification as to why you can't kind of come and go within a certain period of time. Why is it just as soon as you come, that's it?
Well, most search warrants you have, or all search warrants, you have to have underlying facts and circumstances that basically is giving you probable cause for your search, and so you have to fill that out and swear to a judge that you're not lying and that you're telling the truth, and you can't. So like some search warrants is for, let's just say you're going to search for drugs or for narcotics that you have reasonable suspicion enough to believe that's located there. You can't go ask the judge on Monday to sign that warrant, and then you wait till 2 weeks from now to go execute it. By then, if there was something there, it may not be there at that time. So you have a small window of time that you need to execute that warrant to try to find what you're looking for. And then I think that's a good thing. That's not bad. I'm not knocking it. I think that's the way it should be. Also, then you can't just leave and say, well, I executed that warrant Monday, but I'm gonna leave and come back Wednesday and look again. Maybe it's there now. That's not. Then you're infringing upon somebody's rights, and you could get in trouble. So that it just don't work that way. You need to execute it in a timely manner, and then once you leave, whether you found what you're looking for or not, you can't go back on that same warrant. Now, if you leave and 3 days later you get some more information or some fresh information that's different, and you want to apply again, then you could do that. But just to be able to go and come and wait hours, well, I'm gonna leave and come back tonight at 11. It don't work that way, and it shouldn't work that way.
But if you leave somebody on the property,
You can't.
you can go out to dinner and come back because the warrant is still active because somebody is still on the property. Is that the way it works?
That's correct.
That's what I was
in
going
that particular instance, we believed and was pretty sure that bodies were buried there. So that's not something that you can just run out there in 15 minutes and do. So once we applied for the warrant, then we secured that area where nobody can come in and mess with things and move things around or whatever until we can look and look good, and this was for the bodies of Joanne Baines buried there, and it was going to have to be exhumed.
Right.
You don't just run out there with a backhoe and
check
tearing the earth up.
Right. Okay. And this was for the bodies of Joanne Baines and her daughter.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So Do we know? I don't know if we talked about this. I asked, did Adam Mays have a criminal history? Does anybody know?
Not to my, I don't recall him having, one of any like lengthy violent criminal history that I can recall.
Right. Oh, okay.
No, I don't think he had. If he had anything, it was nothing near the level of what he ultimately did. It was something just. I don't even recall actually that it was much.
And Shane,
No.
did you ever give this over to the? Did the behavioral analysis unit ever do like a profile workup of him?
The
Or
BAU
did?
got involved in this, and of course we notified the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, and got the girls entered into their system, just on the off chance that um, they wound up leaving the area and going to another part of the country or whatever, so that all their information would be in there. But if I think actually it would have been, I think it would have been Dr. Burks. I think he was up there at the time.
Okay.
And I'm the FBI. I bet they got their BAU people involved in it. Um,
They did.
Okay. Oh, okay.
from the Marshal Service perspective, that case went from a few sheriff's deputies and a sheriff or a couple of sheriffs to and a few deputy marshals to 300 people within a day or two. Um, uh,
Right.
what started out being managed by just a few people wound up being managed by somebody that none of us was really familiar with, and we were just trying to do our best to carry on with what we had.
Right. Right.
I have a question for Shane. Have you ever saw a case go uh, from just a warrant from a wanted person to the top 10 most wanted of the FBI that fast?
No, no, I've never seen a case like that. And um, in fact, I worked the Holly Bobo case. I believe it was that same year, and that case drug on for years. And they were involved. The FBI was involved in that within hours of her missing, going the same as we were. And I don't think that ever made their top 10 list. I've never seen nothing like go that quickly. No.
Well,
Um,
me either, and I thought that was one of the things that was pretty uncommon. It seemed to me. I mean, I'm glad it did. I'm not arguing that it did or fussing that it did. I'm glad it did because it was able to just pour resources onto it. But
Hmm.
that was
well, and
amazing
from our
thing.
perspective, from if I've worked a top 15 Marshal Service case before, but I've never attempted to have one of my cases converted to a top 15 or even a major case, because there's so much paperwork involved in it. They say it gives you more resources, but at the end of the day, you can get all those same resources without going to that level. And a lot of times cases are elevated like that so that, in my opinion, so that some agent can get some good material to put on his promotion package. Um, I've I stopped being enamored by bandits within the first couple of years of working bandits. I mean, they're all playing hide and seek. Some of them are just a little better at it than others. So yeah, I
Hmm.
stopped being starstruck by them a long time ago.
Um, we talked in the podcast about building rapport, and obviously building rapport to get people to give you information that they have that you want, and being able to empathize and to find a way to connect with them is extraordinarily important. in law enforcement, it is in many other jobs. Early in my career, I was a talent agent for a major agency in Los Angeles, the William Morris Agency, and building rapport with clients and potential clients could not have been more important. And Gail Manning talked about one of his techniques, which was the use of prayer to connect with the right people, and where that would be an effective tool. I don't know, Shane, if you've ever used that or if you're a heathen and, you know.
No, I'm a good Methodist boy. I prayed. I've never done it. I've never done it like Gail. I've never got to be in a situation like Gail that would just pray that would pray the truth out of them. Now I prayed for a few of them while they were going to the light, and prayed for a few kids that we'd recovered, and but not like Gail. Gail was Hollywood quality prayer warriors when it came to bandits.
So, are there any other techniques that you guys have, that Sheriff or Baron or Shane have, that you've used over the course of your career, which are really effective ways at building rapport with people? I had that was a question from another deputy marshal who just thought that was an interesting technique. And obviously, somewhat sincere, but was interested in seeing if you all had anything else in your bag of tricks that you kind of utilized to make that connection.
As far as in particular, any techniques, no, but like you said, law enforcement especially, as many others, you have to build that relationship, I guess, say that like you said, and to gain empathy and stuff, you have to, in the way you talk to them, you just can't walk in and just start demanding things out of people. They're going to close up, clam up on you. You've got to build that rapport to get the information you need from them.
Mm-hmm. Sheriff, you had anything in your experience?
Well, I think it's what I try to do is be truthful with them and tell them, that I'm not going to lie to them, and I would appreciate it if they didn't lie to me, and so I try to not tell them something that I can't do. If I tell them something, I need to tell them something that I'm pretty sure I'll be able to follow through with. You're not supposed to promise or coerce them in any way, but
or threaten.
Trickery is allowed, but I think you have to be careful with it, and you that comes by years of experience in doing it.
Trickery was allowed in Hollywood as well. So, what about you, Shane?
Man, I always tried to be as good to them as I possibly could. Many times you're talking to people on one of their worst days of their life. I tried to be empathetic. I tried to explain to them, look, the longer your child runs, the worse it's going to be for him. He's going to have to shoot somebody else. He's going to have to rob somebody else, and eventually that's going to come to an end. And like the sheriff said, I've just tried to be honest with them and tried to be empathetic with them. But I've told many of them, I'll ruin every good thing in your life if you don't want to play ball, and I followed through on that a few times. But because a lot of people, they don't want to betray somebody, or they've helped them and don't want to tell you about it, and but at the end of the day, I've looked at folks like one of these days I'm gonna run into this guy in a restaurant like I did about a month ago when somebody said, "Hey, Marshall," and I got a cold chill up my back, and it was just a dude that I had locked up years ago, and he said, "Man, I appreciate you being good to me and not mistreating me." I mean, I've seen a lot of guys when they get arrested, tempers get high and people yell and scream and do this and that. But I mean, I've always felt like when a guy's caught, he's caught. Ain't no point in rubbing it in. He did. It's like a bandit told me one time, it's my job to run and it's your job to chase. So we all got our purpose. So can't take it. You really just can never take this stuff personally. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen because it's happened to all of us, but
And just kind of getting back to the Adam Mays case for a second, did we ever find out whether Adam Mays actually, while he had them, did that ever come out? That was a question.
The initial search warrant, the first search warrant on the trailer that he had been living in had we found almost like a diary, and we found evidence, certainly to the fact that they were together, and I don't recall if it was an admission of any force or something that had happened or not, but I think in his mind, the oldest one was his wife, and her little sister was their daughter. I think is what he had was portraying it out to be.
Right. Okay, interesting.
So whether it happened or not, I don't know, but it would have. I think he got caught up in having to be on the run, and he had that weight with him with girls, and so I don't know. Gave him time. I don't know. That's a good. Really know the answer.
That's okay. I just, with people have been asking some very interesting questions. Another question: how did the rescue and his suicide sit through so many of these kinds of things? Did you have a feeling one way or the other when given his the manhunt?
And of course, you hate to see anybody take their life or anybody's life taken, but worked out the best as it could. No law enforcement officers were shot. The girls were not shot. The girls weren't hurt any worse than what they've already had been through, and he just took his own life. So that saved taxpayers, from feeding him for years and years and years and years and years, and court cases, and hearings, and I mean, so the girls didn't have to endure the agony or pain of testifying, and so when the totality of all that together, I think that in my opinion, says that it probably worked the best way. And
Okay.
that's my opinion.
Do you guys want to add something?
Different.
I was basically going to say the same thing because it, more or less, not putting them through that because, had he did come out alive or we had actually arrested him, I mean, you're talking about years, probably court proceedings, hearings that those girls would still have to relive that every single time or testifying, even though it's sad that someone did, he did take his life, but on the other hand, the girls were safe. I think it worked out for the best in that situation.
Also, the fact that they don't have to live wondering he's going to get out of prison in 2029 or whatever, So that they don't have to walk around in fear or wondering will he ever get out or is he going to escape. So that's I'm sure has to be something that's got some kind of comfort to them.
And a Marine Corps combat veteran may have a different view, Shane?
No, it was the very best outcome it could have been. Thank God he didn't make an officer do it, because then that officer would have to go through all the paperwork and the time off of work and the shooting reviews and all that crap. No, in fact, if he'd have done it a day or two before, it would have been even better. It's no loss to the world, and I'm sure he's smoking a turd in hell right now. I'm sure he was within 2 seconds of going out. I mean, the fact that at the end of the day, there wasn't a soul on the planet that was willing to claim his remains and bury him. So
Right.
yeah, it was no loss to the world. It's a shame that those girls had to go through all that.
Yeah. And Annette,
but it would have been worse for them.
we had a question from Annette. She said, were the girls still with him when he took his life? Did they have to witness that?
Yes.
Yes.
They were right there with him when he pulled the gun and shot himself in the head.
And I think Mike had said that the girls had their faces down toward the ground, so they didn't actually see it. I believe so.
Right.
We have a question. Has there been any contact with the girls since this case concluded, and how are they doing? A great question. Unfortunately, we don't have the answer. I think we had tried to make contact for this podcast, and I think they have stayed away from any notoriety or social media and have kind of just wanted to, I think, be a little bit more private. Am I right, Shane?
Yeah, I haven't seen the girls since that day at the end of all this on the trail out there. Sheriff John Doolin's kept loose communication with them through the years, and his conversation with me is that they wanted to keep as private of a life as they could, to try to just minimize any having to go back through all of it or anything. I understand that they've both been through extensive counseling, and I'm sure it still causes them trouble. But again, I think it's a lot less trouble than it would have if he'd have been sitting in jail right now, still alive.
Okay. Well, if there are, I mean, this is exactly the kind of information I would hope we would, kind of discuss a little bit more tonight. So that's been awesome. And I think we're going to call it a night, and just thank Sheriff Jimmy Edwards and Baron Baker, and of course Shane Brown, for coming on and sharing a little bit more of their experience. And thank you all for tuning in. And please, where you can, give us a stellar review and 5 stars, because we're really trying to build this, and it really helps us get more exposure. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. All right, take care.
Sir.
Are we gone?